Welcome to another edition, another Super Bowl 59 preview edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. Ian Cameron, we've had a bunch of different guests linked to football this week. Great guests. We've had some great insight and great analysis about the Chiefs and the Eagles game. And we've got one of our good friends joining us again. You've seen him already the last couple weeks with the conference championship show and the divisional playoff show with Trevor Harris and Philip Nelson. He joined us on both of those. Now he's here for the Super Bowl preview, Davis Alexander, and you can tell he's putting in time in the gym with the arms showing there, getting ready for a new CFL season and his first season as a number one CFL starting quarterback. Before we get into the NFL stuff, how's the offseason going? Obviously, training ramping up and gearing up for becoming the man at the quarterback spot for the Montreal Alouettes this year.
Yeah, I got my iPad on landscape mode here, so you can kind of see my whole setup. But no, it's going great. We're working hard. We're training 6 to 7 times a week. I feel like right now I don't really need to take
an
any
average
time
of
off.
every day during the
Oh
week.
yeah. Sometimes twice a day. I don't really feel like I'm getting burnt out or anything like that. And I just, I'm happy doing it. So I'm just excited, and May can't come soon enough, and in particular June.
Yeah, I got to admit, as a CFL Ticats fan, I'm happy and excited about what my team did in
Yeah.
free agency this past
No.
week. Man, I'm getting amped up now. They've brought the spirit back in this Ticat fan with some of these moves, and bringing in Kenny Lawler and making moves on defense, bringing in the great rookie, and you know him well, Stubblefield from the Montreal Alouettes, and Deshaun Amos from the Argos to bolster a defense that stunk. And you know that firsthand because you ripped our ass twice last year as far as our pathetic defense is concerned from 2024. But certainly they're making steps to improve it, shore it up. So I'm liking things and the look of the roster, the quality of the personnel as far as the Ticats are concerned. It's crazy to think, Davis, 3.5 months from now, training camp's going to be here. Crazy, huh?
Oh, I know. I think I report about 3 months today. I think maybe May 7th, maybe May 6th.
So not even 3.5, more like exactly 3 months. It's unbelievable. It'll be here before you know it.
Exactly, man. I can't wait. But yeah, I think honestly, free agency this year was, and obviously it's not done yet, but it was exciting. I mean, I know as far as us, we didn't make a ton of moves, but that's okay. But just from an outside perspective, it was interesting to see, what teams did. And, Edmonton, they had their huge splash on that first day. Maybe they knew about the 400K cap going up before anyone else did. I'm not going to say anything else. I don't know. I'm just a guess the way they were spending.
I'm a big fan of Zach Collaros. He found his honey here in Hamilton when he was a Ticat. That's how he found his girl that he's married to now. And certainly was a great Ticat, a great quarterback, great career, multiple Grey Cups and all that. But Zach Collaros, shut the fuck up, please. You're the last person I want to hear bitching and complaining about the salary cap stuff. And he had a few things to say about that. Yeah, your team's owned the CFL the last few years. I think they are okay, by the way. And I'm happy we got, obviously, a guy that worked in the Winnipeg organization, Ted Kavaya, now is the GM of the Ticats. Like I said, I'm very excited. Like you said, your team hasn't made a lot of moves, Days. You really didn't have to. You've got a really good roster. I think for Danny Machocha, it's really all about just tinkering with things, just a few touch-ups here and there. Because as far as I'm concerned, your roster's good enough to contend this year as it is.
Yeah, he usually does a pretty good job of honestly just signing what he believes to be the core back in the middle of the year. I think a lot of that kind of goes unnoticed, but I think during the season he re-signed Tyler Snead. He extended Deontay Ruffin before people even knew it. Multiple Justin Lawrence, our starting center. He just does a really good job of extending guys while they're still under contract.
No doubt. And like I said, it's going to be here in 3 months, so I can't wait for CFL season. But you know what we also can't wait for? Super Bowl 59. And I actually can't believe I'm saying that, Davis, because when this first happened, I'm like, oh, wake me up when the game starts. I want nothing to do with this hype train and this previews for 2 weeks ad nauseum with these fucking two teams because I'm pissed. I thought it would have been a cooler, more engaging to the fan storyline if we got a little Buffalo-Washington Super Bowl. Buffalo-Philadelphia would have been preferable. Anything without Kansas City in it, quite honestly, would have been something fresh and something different. And so the story, and Detroit getting knocked out, because I thought Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl would have been super cool. And then as I
Mhm.
think, okay, here we go, Kansas City, Philadelphia. The Philadelphia fan base, it's hard to stomach them and cheer for them, quite honestly. But at the same time, everybody has got Chiefs fever. They're sick of them. So it's like,
Yeah.
who the hell do you cheer for as a fan in this game? And so I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be shitting me. Chiefs and Eagles again. But now that it's here, we're a little more than 24 hours away from kickoff, and you see the quality of the personnel on both sides. It's going to be probably a good football game, and I'm getting into it now. And plus, I got a shit
Mhm.
ton of bets, so clearly I'm going to get into it. There's
How
no doubt.
hard
Chiefs and
not to
Eagles,
get into
Davis.
it.
Yeah, yeah. 1 point road or not 1 point road favorites. 1 point favorites, of course. Caesar Superdome in New Orleans, where this game is 48.5 the total. I've said my piece multiple times, recording various preview editions of this show this week, talking about this game. So you don't need to hear from me. You're here to listen to this guy right here, Davis Alexander. So have at it. How do you, whatever you want to say, just an overall preview of the game, side that you like, total that you like, player props that you like.
Mhm.
What's your thoughts here, Chiefs and Eagles?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start off by saying this. Personally, I want the Eagles to win, but I will respect greatness if Patty does it again, right? If he does this unbelievable three-peat, I think who's the corner McDuffie? He's in his third year and he's gone to three Super Bowls, won two of them already, right? He's got a chance to win three Super Bowls in his first 3 years. So I got to respect greatness if it gets done. However,
Lucky guy.
yeah, right, right. I'm sure the playoff money is nice too. Nice little bonus for him. But I'm all in on the Eagles. I I think I think the Chiefs are a really good football team. Obviously, I just they're not anything crazy special. They just have number 15 back there for them, And I heard a crazy clutch stat. He's like 7 for 7 in playoff games with 4 minutes to go, and it's a one possession game. He either ties it or takes the lead. 7 for 7. I think there's only two other quarterbacks who were above 50%, and that was Tom Brady, who I believe was 4 of 7 or something like that. And I think Eli Manning was the other one, but pretty crazy stuff there. However, I just think Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, and that offensive line, their ability to get out in space every week, those O linemen, and with how big they are and the blocks that they make, and Saquon, he's one cut and he's gone. As I've said the past couple weeks on here, you're going to get a 60-yard Saquon rush at some point.
I like
So I
hearing that for one of my props. I think you know what I'm talking about. Yep.
I'm going to guess it's longest rush attempt, but
Bingo. Not
yeah.
splitting the atom, figuring that one out, but you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm all in on the Eagles. I think that, I said last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, I said the Eagles, I think they could win by 14 plus versus the Commanders. And what, they won by 32 or whatever it was, 55-23 or whatever. I could see the Eagles winning this one again by 10 plus, honestly. I really could. And um if I have to go with a total, I'm also gonna lean the over. Um, I think I think Patty's obviously he shows up in big games too, and he's got some great weapons. Xavier Worthy and Travis Kelsey, he's gonna show up. I'm kind of waiting to see them get Pacheco going a little bit. But as far as player props go, Devonte Smith, 5 catches. I think you can get that at plus money. I think that's a steal. Travis Kelsey, over receiving yards. I think it's sitting about 61.5. I don't know what that's one of the lines I saw. Um,
Well,
and
me,
then
Mister work his ass off and nose to the grindstone, doing this handicapping thing 24/7. I was able to find 59.5 actually
there you
with
go.
Travis Kelsey over line shopping. Man, it does matter. But yeah,
Oh, it does.
I'm with you on that. I mentioned that on one of my previous shows with one of the previous guests earlier this week, talking about this game. Without N'Kobe Dean, they have been whipped by tight ends on the
Hmm.
opposing team, this Philadelphia Eagles team. Look what Higbee did to them. Look what Ertz did to them
Ertz,
in
yep.
the last two games. Yep.
Yeah, and then my final prop, and it's my favorite prop, is Patrick Mahomes over pass attempts. It's just that the Chiefs, they're gonna win or die by their hero, by their guy, and as we see the Chiefs offense, it's become much more of quick game and
Short passing game, and
exactly.
time-consuming drives, which means more
hmm
plays, more snaps, more opportunities to get those, what,
hmm
36 pass attempts that you need, right?
And obviously, I think I have the Eagles winning, so that's a great game script for Patty Mahomes to get his. So that's where I'm at. I got an intriguing one. I saw for plus money. Will there be um, another player, basically besides a quarterback, to make a pass attempt? And I think it was at like plus 145. It happens every Super Bowl, dating back to the Philly special. I think we're going to see it. The only tricky thing is if it does come on a 2-point conversion, it doesn't technically count as an attempt.
Right. But that's sometimes when we've seen it. Of course, the most famous one was the birth of the Philly special with Nick Foles against
Right.
Tom Brady and the Patriots in that Super Bowl a few years ago. But again, as you mentioned, that was on a 2-point conversion attempt, which means it would not cash that prop. It's got to be on a
Exactly.
regular play from scrimmage. So that's exactly the thing you've got to be aware of with that particular prop. But yeah, there's a lot of those props I agree with. As far as what you're looking at, you mentioned Patrick Mahomes over pass attempts. Will Arndt like that when we talked to him about this game. I like what Mahomes over 5.5 rush attempts as well. And the reason why I like the rush attempts more than the rushing yards is because, well, first of all, he hasn't been going over the rushing yards prop consistently, Patrick Mahomes. And another thing that concerns you is the Chiefs obviously have a very good chance to win this game. I do think they probably will win this game. It's difficult for me to go against them.
hmm
If that happens, it's victory formation at the end, and those kneel downs count as lost rushing yards for Patrick Mahomes. And I've seen it happen before, Davis, man. Bad beats like you can't fucking believe with
hmm
people that I know where they've got over rushing yards on the quarterback and the victory formation kneel downs, whether there's one of them, two of them, or three of them at the end of the game with a victory, take someone I know from going from cashing an over rushing yards on a quarterback to losing it.
Right.
So yeah, that's something you got to have in the back of your mind. So that's why I think the rush attempts for Patrick Mahomes over, and especially considering he's averaging 6 rush attempts per Super Bowl, the over 5.5 is probably the better option if you're looking to get involved in props with Patrick Mahomes using his legs to run with the ball.
Oh yeah. I like
Uh,
that.
As far as some other stuff, which I'll throw at you, as far as props that I've bet, we'll see if you like them or not. But first of all, for side and total, I just don't have any interest betting against the Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo trio. I just don't want to do it. I mean, they've been phenomenal in these spots with extra time to prepare. I think there's some truth to the fact the Eagles may have the better and more talented roster. I get it. And I understand why you like the Eagles and you're on them. And I
hmm
understand why other people are on them. I do think there might be just better players, top to bottom. I think the O-line's better for the Eagles, for sure. I think the D line, well, it's a little closer with that, but I think you could still maybe give a slight edge to the Eagles there. Secondary, probably slight edge to the Eagles, quite honestly. And that's no disrespect to McDuffie and the Chiefs, they've got some good players back there. Nick
Right.
Bolton's a great linebacker. He's a great player there. But I think depth of players, the whole group, the collective, might be a little bit stronger for the Eagles when you have Darius Slay and you've got these two guys that have played great, Blankenship and Cooper DeJean all year. What if they get the great rookie Quinyon Mitchell back too? All of a sudden, it's a really good secondary. But the key areas where the Chiefs still have the advantage, and they've shown it's enough of an advantage to win these games, like last year against San Francisco, when a lot of people, Davis, made the same comments. San Francisco's just got the better roster than Kansas City, but who had the better quarterback? Kansas City did with Mahomes. Who had the better coach? Andy Reid. And of course, Steve Spagnuolo is an all-time great defensive coordinator. There is no question about that. And that's been enough, for Kansas City in these Super Bowl games. They're 8-0 against the spread. Mahomes is the last 8 games when the point spread's been between Pick'em and -3. That's whether he's been a favorite or an underdog. He's just been spectacular in this situation. He's never lost to a Vic Fangio coordinated defense in his career. That's another thing that's on his side. You look at Philadelphia, as dominant as it was against Washington, blew out the Commanders, took them apart. They did benefit from a +3 turnover margin. I mean, Washington
Hmm.
couldn't hang on to the football. They treated the football like a hand grenade in that game. They just couldn't, and it just cost them over and over again there. So, that benefited them a little bit. And like I said, this Kansas City team took them against San Francisco. I'm just not deviating. I'm with you on the total. I think a small bet on the over. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a live over, Davis, because I've also got one of my props is no points in the first 6 minutes, which is minus
I like that.
128 at FanDuel. I do think there'll be a feeling out process. I do think it'll be a bit of a sluggish, low scoring start. I could see no score late in the first quarter or 3-0 late in the first quarter. You'll get the live total down to about maybe low 40s.
Hmm.
And maybe even if it's really low scoring, it might even drop to the 30s at some point. And, that's when you can basically jump in with a live over, because usually, more often than not always, but more often than not, the Super Bowl has gotten higher scoring as the game goes on, and maybe that
Hmm.
does happen here.
Yeah, I actually I didn't see that one, but I really do like that no score within the 6 minutes because both teams do a really good job of possessing the ball and having long drives.
Yeah.
And I think in even that Texans game with the Chiefs, they had that return that brought them all the way to like the 30, the Texans 35 or 40, and I still think it took them like almost 5 minutes to kick a field goal,
Yep.
and they were getting the ball at the Texans 35. So that's a phenomenal bet in my eyes.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good one. I agree. Definitely like that one quite a bit. And then here's one I took too. Bet365 has double result. It's really a cool bet. For those of you that bet soccer, it's a very, very well-known type of bet with that sport. Halftime, full time, they call it in soccer. You can bet on a result for the game at halftime and the result of the game at full time at the end of the game, and both have to happen to win the bet. What I've taken here is Philadelphia halftime, Kansas City to win the game. So basically, Philadelphia to lead at halftime, Kansas City to win the game, plus 550. And the
Wow.
reason I like that is because if you look at the last two Super Bowls the Chiefs have won in this journey for the three-peat, the San Francisco Super Bowl last year, and then the first Super Bowl against Philadelphia 2 years ago, they were trailing at halftime in both
Yeah,
games, and they came back to win.
Patty had his ankle injury
Yeah,
flared up. I actually vividly think I remember the line being like 5.5 at halftime for
yeah,
the Eagles.
yes. It was indeed. And so they were trailing at halftime of both of those games against the Eagles the first time, against Jalen Hurts and the Eagles 2 years ago. They came back from a halftime deficit and won. They were down by 10 points they were down by a decent amount at halftime last year against San Francisco and come all the way back, and they win it in overtime with the great Jim Nantz call with the jackpot Kansas City. And they win it in overtime. So the Chiefs have shown the ability to rally back, make those adjustments, be strong in the second half, even after a bad start. So that's been the pattern. So that's why at plus 550, I thought that double result, Philadelphia, Kansas City, was Philadelphia lead at halftime, Kansas City win the game, plus 550, thought was a pretty good look. And now I'll get into some of my props. I've been on Xavier Worthy a lot, and I certainly think 5.5 receptions over 54.5 receiving yards are decent looks, but there's one I like even more. I really, really like the over 5.5 rushing yards for Xavier Worthy, because I think in this game, with how aggressive the Eagles' front seven is, that Andy Reid is going to use that aggressiveness against them, get Xavier Worthy on the edge with his, sprinter speed, and jet sweeps, end arounds, those kind of play calls, and just get him out in the open field. And that's considered a rush attempt if they give Xavier Worthy the ball and want those kind of plays, jet sweeps, end arounds. And I think they will absolutely use him at least once in this game in that kind of a play. And if he gets the ball in that kind of a play, all he needs is 6 yards. With his speed, he can get it. So I really like Xavier Worthy over 5.5 rushing yards here.
Do they do the I see I always get nervous with rushing yards for receivers because nowadays teams do that jet pass so often.
Pop pass. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly as they
exactly.
call it.
And that,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. And that's
that's
considered a receiving yard. Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I always get worried about that. So I didn't know. I don't know if the Chiefs do that, or because I know they do run the ball as well with their receivers too,
Yeah.
but you
Anything
never know about
backward will be considered a rush yard,
right.
obviously, if he gets it,
Yeah.
which, they might do the double reverse too, and then he gets it
Hmm.
in the open. That would be a rush yard too. So
Yeah, I think they did that versus the Texans, didn't they?
I think they did. I
Yeah.
think they did try it, and I think they could
I
definitely
think he
see them
got
doing
like
that
8
with
or
Lee.
9 too, so
Yeah, I know. I think it's a great number too. More
Mhm,
importantly, it's a great number. I mean, it's only
mhm.
5.5, and I just think Andy Reid with with this extra time to prepare, he's going to have probably something like that in the arsenal, in the old toolbox for when it's necessary. Davis already mentioned the Travis Kelce props. I mean, just because of the vulnerability the Eagles have shown it against the tight end since Dean went down. Uh, Kelce props, Noah Gray props, Noah Gray touchdown. I took plus 600 because look, he sometimes got on the field and involved in the red zone for Kansas City, and obviously he's the backup tight end to Travis Kelce. So while Travis Kelce props, yes, are good, don't sleep on Noah Gray too. They might get him involved a little bit, and at plus 600 to find the end zone, I think that's definitely what I would consider, a solid price for sure to take a shot with that. And then for a few more Kansas City props that I'm taking here, I mentioned DeAndre Hopkins already, over one
Mhm.
and a half receptions, plus 130, but especially liking the over 10.5 receiving yards, minus 118 for DeAndre Hopkins. He had 11 receiving yards on just one reception against Buffalo in the AFC Championship game. So him needing only 11, somehow, some way, you don't trade for this guy midway through the season and say, you know what, it's the Super Bowl. We're going to target you one time or
Right.
twice. I cannot believe for the life of me they are not going to try to get DeAndre Hopkins more involved. He's still got a great hands, great route runner, great possession receiver, great in the red zone with that frame, and get him involved. And not only that with the receiving yards, Davis, but his touchdown prop, because of this lack of activity that he's had with the Chiefs, you can get it in this crazy great price right now at plus 600 at FanDuel. Last I checked, for DeAndre to find the end zone, worth a shot,
Of
because I think
course.
most of his, if he's going to get the ball and he's going to make some catches and receptions and be involved, I think more likely in the red zone it happens.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah. DeAndre, he's been waiting for this moment his whole life. He's talked about it all year. He's been waiting to play with a guy like Patty Mahomes and, honestly be in contention. So uh, I totally can see it. I'm on board with it. I mean, come on. He can't get an 11-yard catch.
Yeah, exactly. And that 600, like, it would not surprise me in the least to see him find the end zone and be targeted, I think, down there. One more, too, for I've got Karlaftis and Jones both to get a sack. Both of those are plus money. Karlaftis has been really good down the stretch, the big Greek, as I like to say, for the Kansas City Chiefs. And here's one I'll throw out to you. This is a real shot in the dark for a touchdown prop. And I don't really go for the real big plus money with the touchdown props, because normally they're priced like that for a reason. But I think this one has a legit chance for Kansas City. We've seen him have multiple big time returns in the punt return and kickoff return game in the first two playoff games for the Chiefs against the Texans and the Bills. I think it's worth a shot. 50-1 plus 5,000. Just put a couple bucks on Nico Remigio for the Kansas City Chiefs. This guy has been a kick returning dynamo for this Chiefs team. He almost had one against Houston right at the start of that game. He had a big time kick return that put the Chiefs in plus territory against the Bills in the AFC Championship. He was that close both times to busting it. So I think at plus 5,000, Nico Remigio returning kicks for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's worth a small shot. Why not?
That would be a heck of a hit for you,
Yep. He's been
huh?
close, Davis. Both
Oh,
games.
no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I'd be interested to see. I'm sure. What do you think the value would be if you just went punt return or kick return touchdown in the whole game?
Well, the thing is
Because
with
I'm sure
Remigio
there's a
props,
prop.
it's just touchdown. I only see touchdown for him. I don't
Mm,
see specifically special teams, but you can also bet Kansas City to have a special teams touchdown if you
right.
prefer that. But I
Mm,
think look, Remigio is going to be the guy. He's going to be the
right.
guy returning kicks for them. So
Of
I'd
course.
rather just take that plus shot at the 50-1.
Yeah, right.
It is one
5,000.
hell of
Yeah,
a
yeah.
price.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's live. I think it's got a chance. I mean, because he's just been that dynamic, and he's
Mhm.
given Kansas City a real boost as far as returning kicks. All right, my props on the Philadelphia side. I think we've both talked, in the previous shows you've been joining us here through the playoffs about Dallas Goedert. It's difficult not to
Yeah.
take Dallas Goedert. I mean, he has just been targeted early and often for Jalen Hurts. And with Devontae Smith kind of banged up a little bit throughout the course of the week, he's going to play Devontae Smith. But, I think maybe more onus now to find Dallas Goedert. He's got great chemistry with him. 4.5 receptions. His receiving yards prop, 49.5 is what I got with that. I'm back on it again. Receptions,
Yeah.
receiving yards, the touchdown prop at plus 350 for Dallas Goedert is probably worth a look as well. And also, Bet365 has Dallas Goedert plus 135 to catch a pass on the first Eagles drive of the game. Plus one. I think that's because I find Dallas Goedert's been involved right away. That first drive, Jalen Hurts is looking for him. So plus 135 for Goddard to have one reception on the first drive. I think that's a pretty good price.
Yeah, and Kellen Moore's really been dialing it up, especially it seems like for Dallas Goedert. I mean, in that Commanders game, they ran that pistol, mid-zone read option play where Dallas Goedert burst straight to the flat, and Jalen Hurts is getting it to him right away. I think they might have had 2 or 3 of those in the second half alone. He's going to get his touches. He's going to get his plays drawn up for him because he also does a really good job running with the ball after the catch, right? Getting some good yak. So he's been very impressive to me.
So the knee injury for Jalen Hurts was not as bad as I thought against Washington. And you saw as the game went on, his running got stronger, and now he's got 2 weeks off. So I think the rushing yards might be in play for Jalen Hurts. And if you remember the Super Bowl 2 years ago against Kansas City, he torched them running the football,
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts. He really, really ran amok over that Chiefs defense. And it's only 34.5 with his rushing yards, Jalen Hurts. So I think that can go over. And even the passing yards, Davis. How often in this day and age of football do you get a quarterback over his passing yards below 200? Like it was
Right.
199.5 when I bet it on Wednesday this week. Jalen Hurts over passing yards, 199.5. We can get there multiple ways. What if Philly's trailing late in the game? You got to throw the football. You're only asking for 200. That's it. So I thought it's a numbers play. I figured at 199.5, I had to take it.
And AJ Brown is playing really good ball right now too, and it seems like him and Jalen Hurts, they got back on track. And I mean, come on, like 200 yards in the Super Bowl, like obviously it's going to depend on game script, but that's any passing prop, right? It's really any player prop. It's going to depend on game script, but we're both predicting this to be a relatively close game and some points, and so I mean, come on, Jalen. I would even probably sprinkle a plus 225 plus, and you'll get some plus money there.
I mean, and you're talking about a Kansas City team that in the 3 Super Bowls they've won, including the last 2, this is a Kansas City team that's been trailing in the second half in all 3 games. The first one with the 49ers when they faced Garoppolo, and then, of course, 2 years ago against the Eagles, and then last year against the 49ers. They were trailing in the second half in all 3 games. So it's not like we expect Kansas City to be up by 14, 21 points, and Jalen Hurts is not going to need to throw the football.
Right.
We expect this to be a very close game. So that's why I think the passing yards for me at just 199.5 just look too fucking low. I mean, my goodness. I mean, we're not asking for too much there. Barkley props. Look, I don't love his rushing yards this time. Like it's 110.5. That's a huge number, but I'd scared shitless to bet under. I'll tell you that right now because of just how dominant he's been. I'm going back to the we already touched on this earlier. Longest rush over 23.5 yards. He had he had big gains of 60 and 70 in that range against both the Rams and the Commanders the last 2 playoff games. And Kansas City's run defense statistically is okay, but even they gave up, Davis, a 33-yard run to James Cook of the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game. If they give up a 33-yard run here to Saquon Barkley, we're a winner. We cash a ticket with that over longest rush. So over longest rush, 23.5 yards. I'm back with that for Saquon here.
Yeah, and to your point, it looks like Jalen Hurts is healthy, right? So now you have to worry about, particularly in their read option game, you have to worry about containing Jalen Hurts, which you give Saquon Barkley that foot a gap, 12-inch gap. he's all he has to do is make the next linebacker miss, and he's
Off
probably
to the
off to the
races.
races.
Exactly. And then maybe a house call, if that
Hmm.
ends up happening. And 2-point conversion attempt, I thought was cheap at FanDuel. Just minus 104 for there to be a 2-point conversion attempt. I think there's a high probability of a 2-point.
Hmm.
Sirianni's gone for two quite often in the
Right.
past. Reed is more. Uh, Certainly early in his career, he didn't go for two very much, but now the last few years we've seen him do that more often. So minus 104 for there to be a 2-point conversion attempt. Now this doesn't have to be a successful one. Just as
Right.
long as there's a 2-point conversion attempt in the game, it cashes. So at minus 104, I thought that was a pretty good price as well. Is there anything else you want to mention, Davis? Props that you like? Anything else here for this game?
I did see an interesting one with I just can't remember the odds. You might have to check it for me, but it
Or is there a
was
player you're thinking about? But I can look it up if you're.
yeah, it was Carson Steele.
Right.
Because it was what the prop was under is players to have one receiving yard or more. And Carson Steele was on there, and I swear he was at like plus 750 or plus 880 or something like that. And Carson Steele's kind of like he's a gadget guy for them and all their little gadget plays, and he also, for that, like towards the end of the game when the Chiefs were running out the clock and um, they ran that man beater. I forget who the back was out of the backfield, but it was the game clinching play versus the Bills.
Reminds me of
That's a
that
route.
80s song. Watch out now, it'll chew you up. The man beater.
Exactly. But he's a guy who always is capable of doing that stuff, and I think Andy Reid trusts him. He's very capable of of getting a 2 yard flat route or a 3 yard flat route on that 3rd and 1 that Patty loves to call, where they fake the play action and he ends up running the flat route. So Carson Steele, I'd have to look at the line again, but I swear it was something crazy like that. So I feel like I've seen so many Chief games, and I'm a big fantasy football guy, and I'm like, how the heck does Carson Steele score a touchdown here or something
Yeah.
like that? You know what I
Think
mean?
outside the
So
box. And because
mhm.
Andy Reid does this in games like
Oh,
this. Yeah.
he always does in the Super Bowl. He leaves it all out there. So it wouldn't shock me if he had a yard receiving.
Yeah.
And you don't have to put the house on it. You can throw $10 on it and come back with 80.
Exactly, and that's all it takes for some of these players off the grid a little bit, and
Hmm.
maybe be able to make bigger impact on the game than maybe you would think. No doubt. And Pacheco versus Hunt. You don't have to say if you like any props on them, but just who do you think has the bigger impact? Because people are shying away from Pacheco, and I get it because he's not done much, and they've gone to Hunt
Hmm.
more. But I could totally see, hey, this being the Andy Reid. Wait a minute, pull the rug out from under you special, where all of a sudden, hey, let's get Pacheco going here.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I said earlier, right? I was like, I feel like at some point they gotta try and get Pacheco going a little bit because we've seen he's incredibly elusive. He's a tough runner. He wears on your defense. Um, unless there's some sort of injury there that, is kind of undisclosed and they're not really letting it get out there, maybe. But um, and the easy answer is Pacheco for rush and Kareem Hunt out of the backfield and some pass game stuff. And maybe it's that simple, right? But I also do think that they'll probably have a little bit of Kareem Hunt just because of his experience, and he's another guy that Andy Reid clearly trusts. So that's a tough one. I would probably roll with Pacheco.
I'm with you. I've stayed away mostly from Pacheco and Hunt props in this
Yeah.
game. It's tough for me. It's a lot of uncertainty, in my opinion. Just
Hmm.
my work, with the props and researching them for this game. To me, it's just difficult to pinpoint exactly what the Chiefs are going to do as far as the run game is
Right.
concerned in
Yeah.
this game for sure. Great stuff. Like I said, Davis was the one you wanted to hear from because you heard from me certainly enough throughout the week. But I know you're looking forward to this Super Bowl. Anything you want to add, and then we'll get the best bets.
Um, no, like I said, I kind of said at the beginning, I will respect greatness if Patty's able to get it done again. But I'm all in on the Eagles, and I just think that that O line
Philadelphia
is
stops history from happening. Davis
Yeah.
Alexander says, no
Yeah.
team in the modern era has won 3 straight Super Bowls. Philly will look to end it here on Sunday and stop the Chiefs from accomplishing that goal as well. All right, it's that time. It can be the side, it can be the total, it can be any of the player props you like, but best bet for Davis Alexander for Super Bowl 59. Have at it. What do you got?
Oh, it's Eagles money line. I texted you and Trev right before, or right as the game ended between the Bills and the Chiefs. I just don't see. I can't remember the last time a team was able to run the ball like this in the NFL. It's unbelievable. I've never seen it before, and they just continue to prove me wrong, prove me wrong, prove me wrong. And then I finally hopped on their side a couple weeks ago, and I got to roll with the Eagles.
There we go. Got to unmute the mic. There we go. Davis Alexander going with Philadelphia. +1 or just the money line? I mean, I got to ask.
Oh,
You
give me
make
the
it.
money line.
There
Give
you
me the
go.
money line.
What's +1 going to do for you?
Right.
Exactly. You want the win. Exactly.
Yeah,
You
you
would
want
be
the
betting
win.
it at +1 if you didn't think they're going to win the game, obviously.
Hmm.
So, yeah, money line it is. Here we go for Philadelphia. And it is still plus money. +100, is still available for Philadelphia Eagles money line. Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. That's what you're going to be hoping to hear, obviously, on Sunday night after that game ends. All right. I've given you a different best bet with every guest, so I'm going to try to keep that theme going. I'm going to go to the Patrick Mahomes over 5.5 rush attempts. I'm going to use that as my best bet for this show. I like it. We talked about how he's averaged 6 rush attempts per Super Bowl. It's 5.5, and it's a little bit of a safer bet than the rushing yards in case there's kneel downs at the end of the game if the Chiefs win. So we'll go with that. Patrick Mahomes over 5.5 rush attempts. Let me see what price I locked in on that, just so we can give that -108. So pretty good price on that.
Hmm.
Bet Rivers is where I found that. So over 5.5 -108 for Patrick Mahomes over rush attempts for my best bet for this edition. This one of many Super Bowl preview editions of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. Davis, great job as always. It's been fun. We thank you for your contributions the last 3 weeks during the NFL playoffs. Certainly this season in the CFL, we wish you well with the Montreal Alouettes. Looking forward to seeing you play, except I'll cheer for you not to play well when you're playing those Ticats. But other than that, we will always hope for the best for you and success. Anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
Oh, that's it. That's it for me.
Nothing more. There you go. Short and sweet, to the point. And again, you're in beautiful Arizona, and I'm sure enjoying the warm weather down there right now. Hope you, again, put in that work, and I know you are getting ready for the upcoming season. Let's cash some tickets. All right?
Let's do
make
it.
some money this weekend here with this Super Bowl. Looking forward to it. Hopefully it's a great game. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it. Hit the like button on the way out. For Davis Alexander, I'm Ian Cameron. Hope you enjoy the Super Bowl, enjoy the games, and good luck. And thanks for watching another Super Bowl 59 preview edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy.